AskReddit by Latero 4212. What instance in history did the villain win? It says here in this history book that luckily, the good guys have won every single time. What are the odds? Norm Macdonald. I like how Don Quix at Doflamingo said it, justice will prevail. Of course it will. The winners will become justice. They never caught Jack the Ripper. Zodiac Killer also. Plenty of others through history, but I guess they're two of the most infamous. Golden State Killer almost joined the list. Still sucks that Motherfucker lived a normal suburban life on his own accord for 3 decades after raping 50 women and murdering 15. King Leopold II. The guy conquered the Congo, fleeced it for an unimaginable fortune, killed 15 million people, fucked off and then died an old and fat billionaire facing absolutely no consequences. He didn't even conquer in the traditional sense, it was given to him for colonial power balance shenanigans. When I say given to him, I mean by the European powers. The soon-to-be handless people he would rule over agreed to nothing. Jimmy Savile. I am not from the UK and learned about that horrible man through the Netflix documentary. I am horrified for anybody who grew up watching that absolute piece of shit excuse for a human being. Joseph Mengele. And Shiro Ishii. The Unit 731 doctors were all granted immunity and got off scot-free. The Zodiac Killer still had a few of his puzzle ciphers he sent to law enforcement and solved, and he was never caught. One of his unsolved ciphers was cracked by an amateur cryptanalyst. David Oranchak. Let's Crack Zodiac Episode 5. The 340 is solved. https://www.youtube.com/watch?10ql pre210 close bracket. Did he have others, or was this the one outstanding one that had not been decoded? Pol Pot comes to mind. Also General Butt Naked got away with his atrocious war crimes by claiming a spiritual awakening and becoming a preacher. He is alive and chilling right now. You beat me to it. He and his Khmer Rouge won the Cambodian Civil War. However, the Khmer Rouge lost the next war against Vietnam. During the 1848 revolutions in Germany and Austria, the Liberal Democrats actually succeeded in taking over their respective countries and tried to set up liberal republics before the conservative monarchs eventually rallied and crushed the democratic uprisings. The Russians helped Austria crush the Hungarians, and then the Prussians crushed the German Liberal Democrats. France, the only country to shake off its monarchy, fell under a new monarchy a few years later under Napoleon III. As one historian famously put it, the year 1848 was the turning point at which modern history failed to turn. The Biedermeier period of German history is an interesting example of the populace largely giving up on politics and just focusing on their private lives. It's one factor contributing to militaries gaining their political influence leading up to WW1. A whole lot of Nazis ended up working for the US government after World War II. Well, that's true, but on the other hand, woohoo rockets. When the Taliban took over Afghanistan twice. Maybe the Chinese view him a bit differently, but the first Chinese emperor Qin Shi Huang is depicted as mostly an evil dictator in my culture, Korean. He did win all wars too to unite the warring states. Even the Chinese think he is an extremely brutal dictator. Well, everyone is a dictator during that era. But the Chinese have a phrase, roughly translated to whatever the person sinned only affect his generation, but his deeds have benefited the people for 1,000 years. Japanese serial killer and amp, cannibal Issei Sagawa. Hope he rots in hell. Not him. But the torture and murder of Junko Furuta is the most violent, sickening thing I've ever read about. They did some time, but it's so little considering the disgusting hell they made for that poor girl. Like, I don't even recommend reading the Wikipedia, it's just awful. America has a fuck justice system. But Japan is bad in the other end of the spectrum. History was written by the winners, and winners have a tendency of painting themselves in the light of being the good guy. Japan begs to differ. Genghis Khan killed enough people to alter the climate, recognized as an hero and an influential historical figure. Was about to say this. He wiped out entire countries. He enjoyed torture too. Edison over Tesla. Henry Kissinger. He makes me want to believe in hell. Otherwise, the fact that he lived to 100 and died peacefully as a respected elder statesman instead of having been hung at Cambodian Nuremberg is just too infuriating. Bad guys win all the time. They just write their history books afterwards to make it sound like they were the good guys. I'd go so far as to say that for the vast majority of history, rarely has a war been won by what we would call good guys by today's standards. Augusto Pinochet killed and tortured thousands, stole money from the government, gave it to his family, and died without being judged and loved by a great many. O.J. Simpson. Deleted. Dick Cheney. I came here to say W. He didn't really win. He stole the election by having an army of lawyers go to Florida and get votes from blue areas thrown out. After winning, he let the US get attacked worse than ever before, started 20-year war with a country that is essentially nothing. He absolutely fucked the budget. Then he started another war under false pretenses. He managed to put the military in a place where approximately 1 veteran per hour killed themselves. He also killed something like 500,000 civilians from the country he liberated. I'd like to see him and Cheney go to The Hague and face trial for their war crimes. 9/11. Bin Laden's stated goal was to cheaply pull the US into a series of military quagmires, to increase the security state in America, and encourage divisions within the country. This would have the effect of leeching trillions of dollars that could have been spent on supporting Americans. He absolutely succeeded in this. That sounds like something someone would have said well after 9/11. Even after there were multiple wars, Bin Laden revised his initial goal of getting the paper tiger to back off, which didn't happen, to bleed America into bankruptcy, which didn't happen either. As for winning, Al-Qaeda is rather useless now, but it's an open question whether the jihadist movements would have done better without their inspiration and example or with it. Or whether Bin Laden would have been pleased with what they've done or angered at their deviation from Al-Qaeda's tactics and goals. Stalin. Kim Il-sung built the most oppressive dictatorship on the planet, enslaved, killed, and tortured countless people for the most trivial of offenses, and died old, fat, rich, and worshipped like a god. Same with his son. Removed by Reddit. Removed by Reddit.